Bumbling Bee here, and I thought today I would try and do a very concise video. We can all have a little bit of a giggle at that, can't we? Today I have got my disability hat on, and I would like to share 5 things for you to know about your colleague who has children with special needs or disabilities. And the first one is we want you to ask about our children. So very often people will ask us about our older children, but they may not ask about Erin. Other times they can actually maybe ask about Erin, but not about our older 2 children. We'd like you to ask, we'd like you to understand. You know, if you ask questions about why has this happened or that happened, or do they know what's going on, what's the process and things like that, it makes us feel listened to and heard and understood. If you decide not to ask because you don't want to be too intrusive, that is sometimes a British thing to do, but it also can make parents feel that you're not really interested in what's going on with our child. And without knowing what's going on, then it's very difficult for you to fully understand and maybe accept why things are going on with your work colleague, why your work colleague is maybe away more often and things like that. So please do ask us about our children. I know that if people ask anything that is too personal, and actually I don't think I've been asked anything that's too personal, I will always answer. Anyhow, most of us would like to answer because we like to share the information, because without us sharing and talking about our children, then it becomes a little bit secret and hidden. And so by doing the privacy, I don't want to ask for privacy, we're sort of impounding and enforcing that idea that it's secret and hidden. Okay. The next one I would say, is this going to be a lighter one? Oh, well, I don't know. We haven't slept for years. I haven't had a full night's sleep for 11 years. I know people who children are in their 20s, they've not slept since their child has born. Most of us are up a few times a night. And yeah, the idea of having a full night's sleep seems very alien to us. We are sleep deprived. We always say, don't we, when we have children, this too shall pass. I used to say this too shall pass, and I've had children that sleep with varying degrees of success through being young and into toddler years. But after the toddler years, it gets tiring. The child gets bigger, and it gets more difficult. The child's able to sort of open doors and walk around the house potentially, so there's safety issues, and yeah, most of us have not slept for years, so we will probably be not overly sympathetic if you've had a bad night because you were out partying all night. I think most of us would dream to be able to have the energy to go out partying all night and then look after our children. And on the same sort of thread, we haven't really had a break or a holiday. Families like ours, it's difficult to travel often with a child with special needs. It takes an awful lot more planning, and it costs a lot more money. That may be because you need to have a bigger place, because you need a little bit of extra room, or there's things like insurance, so travel insurance. Because we haven't actually travelled with our daughter, we hadn't really come across travel insurance, but we've just worked out a travel insurance we're looking at now, because we're going to be going overseas, and I know that travel insurance will stop many families from going overseas, especially those with conditions like epilepsy, because whilst the travel insurance may say it's controlled, yeah, that's fine. But then they don't like the fact that maybe she's been to see the specialist. Well, most of us who have children with epilepsy are under specialists that we see, especially if there are other health conditions or genetic conditions going on. So that then puts the family at a financial disadvantage again for that. So we're probably not likely to come back with pictures of scuba diving and lying on a beach drinking cocktails, because we don't really get to do that. But the payoff is great. We have a most interesting, different life, and it opens our eyes to lots of other things, which include, most of us know the law quite well. And that's not because we want to. Do you know, I think one of the most, I don't know if frustrating is the right word, but parents are often told to be a squeaky wheel, you won't get anything. I've been told this very early on, you won't get anything unless you're not a squeaky wheel. Well, that's actually an appalling way to treat society. And my aim going forward is actually to work with companies to do something about that, because this is not an acceptable way to treat families, that they have to be a squeaky wheel. But we will also know the law, because we will know that if our child has been excluded, or if our child is not being given access to things that they're entitled to, we will know which law that comes under, and that their human rights are being breached, or the rights of a disabled child under the UN Convention are being breached. And if needs be, we will raise that. And we don't want to raise it. We just want our child to be able to live life. And with that, we also want, the knock-on effect sometimes is that the child's the child's extra needs knock on to the family. So the family wants to be able to live life, and it knocks on like that. So we don't know laws, and we're not difficult because we want to be. It's more of a necessity a lot of the time that we have got to stand up for our child. So we'll know how we need to stand up for them. And a little bit of a lighter note, maybe, other than the law. We don't want your germs. You know, if you're sick and your colleague has got a child who's got special needs, they don't want you coming into the office and sitting next to them and coughing all over them. Because what might be a cold for you could be bronchitis and pneumonia and a week in hospital for your colleague's child. So somewhere along the line, we need to find a way of understanding what's acceptable and what's not. And likewise, if you've got a germy child, don't turn up at my doorstep. I would much rather you phone and say, I'm not coming over because Maud has got an upset tummy. Because an upset tummy in our house often leads to hospital. So please remember, we don't want your germs. So there's a lot of things that you don't want. So if I go back briefly, I'll try and bullet point it. Right. Okay, so do ask about our children. Don't moan about not having any sleep. Don't moan about it's 3 months since you had your last holiday. Do understand that we want what's fair for our children, and we will argue for them. Don't bring your germs to our house or to work or anywhere near us. And it's not because we're germ phobic, it's just that very often a very common virus will for our daughter, it would knock her out for a month or so. And in that month, I then am glued to her side because she will not allow me to leave the room. So that then impacts on my work, the children's work, the children's activities, because I'm not able to ferry people around, and the knock-on effect is huge. So with that, I will stop bumbling and I will leave you to enjoy. Well, if you're in, I was going to say, where am I? If we're in New Zealand, we've got sun today and wind, and then we've got a chilly blast. What's it called? A polar blast. not a solar blast, a polar blast coming through. So it's going to get chilly. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I've got no idea what's going on and how warm it is or not. But I do know it's autumn because I am from England, and someone said to me the other day, we have 4 seasons. And I'm like, oh, I do know. I did live in the United Kingdom for 39 years. I have not forgotten that in the last decade. So I will let you go and enjoy the weather. See, that's a Brit for you talking about the weather. And I will see you later with a cup of tea. Bye bye for now.